Another day, another link, but this one is a bit more dubious. There's an account on Twitter called EFL Hub with around 20,000 followers, and that is reporting that Derby County are linked with Dishon Bernard of Sheffield Wednesday. Now, he's not long joined Sheffield Wednesday after being released from his contract, I believe, at Manchester United. Now, his contract does appear to be up at the end of this season. Are Derby County going to be in for him? Is he the right profile of player? Shall we get into that now? If you have not done so already, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below or in this top corner to stay tuned for all my latest Derby County transfer news and all EFL content which I'm going to bring to the channel over the coming months. While you're down there, hit that like button and share the video with all your friends. Let me know your thoughts on the potential signing of Dishon Bernard. Do you believe in the link from EFL Hub, or do you think it's a bit of a bogus call? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. So if you do not know who Dishon Bernard is, this is the man. He's a young defender, midfielder type player who has been playing at Sheffield Wednesday over the past couple of seasons. Now, he's 23 years old. He's at Sheffield Wednesday, as I've just said, and his contract expires this summer. He fits within the age profile that Paul Warne is looking for, 23 to 29. Those coming into their peak and exiting their peak players. And I think this would be a good deal for all parties. There's a lot of talk about him, and I do believe that he is in talks with Sheffield Wednesday over a new deal. However, I do believe there is a lot of interest in him heading into this new campaign. Now, obviously, with his contract expiring, really he holds the cards. But what about him is so impressive, and why do Derby want him? So, since making his professional debut, he's played for a range of different clubs. Now, he's obviously played for Man United at youth level. He's played for Portsmouth, where he made 10 appearances. He's played at Hull City, he's played at Salford, and he's played at Sheffield Wednesday most recently. He's also got the most appearances at a senior level for Sheffield Wednesday. But over his career, he's made 166 appearances, 13,711 minutes, 5 goals, 5 assists, 23 yellows and 5 red cards. Now, obviously, some of those minutes and appearances are for United's under-23s, their under-18s in the Youth League. But he has made pretty much 100 senior appearances, I think, there or thereabouts. So, for me, he's got some experience. Obviously, still a young lad. He's still got a long way to develop. And for me, I think he'd fit in. I think he'd fit in well at Derby. We've got quite a young core, especially if when the retained list comes out, which it isn't yet as I'm recording this video on the 13th of May. If we do keep the likes of Liam Thompson, if we do keep the likes of Louis Sibley, then we've got quite a young core going on in our squad with the likes of Jake Rooney. Obviously, you'd have Louis Sibley, you'd have Cashin, Kane Wilson, Warne in midfield. So, obviously, then Dishon Brown up front. We've got quite a young core group. And then, obviously, you've got the likes of Darren Robinson, Ben Radcliffe, Cruz Allen, Niall McAndrew, who are all trying to break through into the first team. And I think you've got to have sort of mid-age players as well as experienced and youngsters. I think it's important that we have that. At Derby, we've not had that a lot over probably the past 4 or 5 years, really. We've sort of either had a really experienced squad, like a really experienced group with really, really young players, or really experienced and no young players, or more young, no experience. And I think that's something which Paul Warne has been keen to address since joining the club. I think he did it well last summer. Obviously, we did bring in the likes of Sonny Bradley and Curtis Nelson, who are all above the age of 30. But ultimately, you need experience as well as youngsters and peak age players, really. Now, if we do go and look at his positional chart, now, he's most notably a centre-back, and that's where he's played the majority of his career. But he, a bit like Jake Rooney, he can also play over on the right and in defensive midfield. Now, I think that he would be, if he comes in to our squad, I think he'd be sort of like the third covering centre-back. Now, is that really what he's going to want to do? Now, personally, I'm a bit dubious about this link anyway, due to where it's come from. But the account has 20,000 followers. It posts consistent links. And do I think that he's a player we might be interested in? Maybe so. He's out of contract. He's in the right age bracket for Paul Warne. But ultimately, the real conversation is he going to want to come in at 23 years old and be sort of a fifth choice centre back, which really that's what he's going to be, especially when you think, for me, Jake Rooney would be sort of fourth cover for the three. Then I think you've probably got Ryan Niambi to drop in there. So it's one of those really where I'm not quite sure he's going to want to come in and be sort of a cover player. I think he's at the age now where he wants to be playing first team football, and I think he's shown that at Sheffield Wednesday. He's made a range of appearances there, and probably not enough for his liking. So I don't think coming here is going to want to sit on the bench or not be in the squad. Now, his versatility does make him an option, but obviously he's not as versatile as someone like Josh Windass or someone like Kane Wilson or Tom Barkhazen, for example, who may still be in the squad next season. So for me, it's difficult to see why this deal would make sense for Bernard. I can see why it makes sense for Derby, but I can't see why it makes sense for him. And to show you what I'm really talking about, you look at the back three. Cashin is going to be a starter. Nelson is going to be a starter. Bradley, conversation, is he going to start? I think he'll start the season. Do I think he'll go all the way through the season? I'm not quite sure. But then you've got, on the right-hand side, you've got Niambi, who can drop in at centre-half. You've got Rooney, who can drop in at centre-half. Obviously, if we end up keeping someone like Forsyth, he can play at centre-half. And you've got Darren Robinson coming through the academy, who can play on the right-hand side at right back, or he can play in midfield or at centre-half. So for me, I think it's a big talking point for this deal that I just can't see where he fits. I would understand if it was, I don't know, give me not an Aidan Flint 4 years ago. Let's talk Aidan Flint 4 years ago when he was like 29. Bringing in someone of that ilk, I can understand coming in, and you could potentially say replacement for Bradley. Bradley would then be the backup, and then you've got Rooney and Niambi as cover. But I can't see Bernard coming in and wanting to be essentially sixth choice at centre-back, because I do think Niambi probably gets in at right centre-half, probably ahead of Rooney, and then I think Rooney's next man up, which would then mean Bernard would have to get ahead of Rooney, which obviously he's had his ACL injury, but I just can't see it not being Rooney for me. Obviously, there's talking points on this situation. Maybe he is going to come into the squad and take that role from Sonny Bradley, but who knows? Who knows? It's going to be interesting to see how this deal works, if it does work out. Now, obviously, as you know, out of contract, it'd be a free contract move. For me, if he is going to sign, it's going to have to be a 2 or 3 year deal. He's 23 years old. For me, if you give him a 3-year contract or a 2-year contract with an option, you've then got the option of parting ways after a year if it's not worked out. You've got the option of parting ways then again after 2 years if you don't want to take up the option. And for me, I'm not even quite sure this deal is even legit. I'm not quite sure on the source that EFL Hub has used. There's not articles out there discussing the link between Derby County and Bernard. Now, there's lots of articles stating Championship clubs have interest in him if he is to leave Sheffield Wednesday this summer, but there's nothing that really puts Derby or Paul Warne or anybody at Derby into the conversation with him, in my opinion, from what I've read. Now, there's a lot of talk over social media, and there is going to be until the transfer window closes in September. I am going to keep up with all the links like I have done here. And I do think Bernard would be, I think he'd be a decent signing. I think it would be a smart deal for us to get a young player on the books in those central defensive positions to give them an opportunity to sort of grow into the position. But do I think it's the right deal for him? Probably not. Now, ultimately, at the end of the day, he's going to decide what is best for him and what isn't. But for me, I can't see a world where this deal makes sense. Now, he's 23 years old. He's got to be looking to play first team football. And if he's not going to do that at championship level, there'll be plenty of clubs in League One that will take him on and make him a starter straight away. And that's where the conversation starts. Does he want to be a rotation player at a championship club, or does he want to be a starter in League One? We've seen players at Derby County drop down levels or reject offers from the Championship to come and play for us. You look at the likes of Conor Horahan, who turned down Championship offers. You look at David McGoldrick, who turned down Championship offers. even the likes of Nathaniel Mendez-Lang and Tom Barkhuizen turned down championship offers to come and join us. And it does show that you can get players down to League One if you sort of essentially promised them minutes. Now, a lot of that was all thrown out the window when Paul Warne came in, but you get my point with the fact that you can work around these deals and make it work for the player and the staff, really. So for me, I'm not quite sure about this deal. I don't think it's going to happen. If it does happen, I'll be very surprised. I just can't see someone of Bernard's ilk coming in, especially when we have the likes of Rooney, Robinson, Radcliffe, all coming up through our own academy. Obviously, you've then also got the likes of Adisa Asande. You've got Dan Cox as well coming through at centre-half. I just can't see a way that this deal makes sense when we've got those players coming through, and we've already got the likes of Rooney and Niambi in and around the first team who can play in those positions. It just doesn't make sense to bring someone in as a sixth choice centre-back when I'd only see it making sense if you were to bring in, as I said previously, a 4 year ago Aidan Flint, let's say, or a Daniel Ayala from God knows when, and like someone who's actually sort of championship proven, championship quality, that is going to come in and take that spot away from Bradley straight away. That's the only way I can see this deal happening. Now, do let me know your thoughts down in the comments. While you're down there, hit the subscribe button, like this video, and share it with all of your friends. Obviously, I'm going to be keeping these videos coming, so make sure you do stay tuned to the channel, and I'll catch you in my next video. Make sure to go and find me on TikTok, pictured here, and Twitter, pictured here. These are the places where I'll keep you all up to date with all my upcoming videos and my thoughts and feelings around the Formula 1 and football weekend.